Reggie Miller is on the call on TNT, the Hall of Famer, my partner in crime.
Yes,
Let's
indeed, Miss
start
Ledlow.
with game one. I'm so excited to see you. We've covered a lot of games out in the Bay, but what did you see from this Warriors team that allowed such dominance just from start to finish?
Well, let's start at the defensive end. We know what they can do at the offensive end in Golden State in that high-octane offense, but a lot of people do not give Golden State enough credit what they do defensively, especially during their championship runs. They knew coming into this series the focus was going to be on Luka Doncic, and rightfully so. And from the jump, Andrew Wiggins has taken the challenge, a lot of times playing him solo one-on-one. If we're talking about game-to-game adjustments, I'm looking for the Dallas Mavericks and Jason Kidd tonight because we saw in that Phoenix series them really targeting Chris Paul, right, and those switches. And they had opportunities to target Stephen Curry. And for Golden State, they're doing a lot of hard showing on Curry's part and getting back to his man. I don't think Luka really took the initiative to attack Curry like he was attacking Chris Paul. So I look for him to be a little bit more aggressive at trying to go at Stephen Curry. They did a good job of going at Jordan Poole, but Curry is the guy that they're going to have to try to put in that spin cycle.
And speaking of that, Reggie, you talked about the Warriors' defense, but how big is it for the Warriors to turn it into easy offense? And I think that's where Dallas's transition defense wasn't ready for because Luka's 7 turnovers made the Warriors get easy offense in the flow.
Well, again, this series is going to be defined by pace. The Warriors, especially in this building in the Chase Center, they want to play fast. And you saw in that first half, when there was a miscue, when there was a turnover, it was off to the races, and they've got the thoroughbreds to do it. And you know that Dallas, they like to play very methodical. They want to take the air out the building, a lot of isolation basketball. So it's really contrasting styles. But in this building, Dallas is going to have to do a better job, number one, not turning the basketball over. I know they only had 13 turnovers, but 7 by your playmaker in Luka Doncic, and that can't happen.
Reggie, how does Dallas slow down the Golden State Warriors? We saw in that Phoenix series, they were able to load up on Booker. Golden State, you obviously can't load up on them because they have so much more shooting. They have actually a big 3. So how are they going to be able to slow these guys down? 56% is not going to cut. If Golden State shoots that well again at home, you know what that's going to be.
Well, number one, if you're Dallas, you've got to make shots. Find a way to make shots and make Golden State actually take the ball out of the net and set up, then that's going to be a win. But if they're going to clank and go 7 for 29 in the first half from 3, well, it's going to be off to the races for the Warriors.
And Reggie, is the way that Jason Kidd gets Spencer Dinwiddie a little more involved, 5 of 11 off the bench, but he's another guy you can put the ball in his hands and try to create a little bit more, take some pressure off of Luka.
Spencer Dinwiddie is the 3rd leading scorer in isolation basketball in these playoffs, about 5 a game. And you're right, 3D. He's going to be one of the catalysts, along with Jalen Brunson, guys that will take that pressure, that offensive pressure off Luka. And there's words coming out that Luka's not 100%, may have had the flu or some type of food poisoning, was throwing up. So we are questioning a little bit of his health coming in here to game 2. So what better way than to have Dinwiddie or Brunson, 2 guys that we know can give you buckets. Those 2 guys, there's going to be focus on them to kind of carry the load offensively for the Mavs.
We're going to get to hear plenty more of your expertise on the call. But for me, the best part of being on the road with you is working out with you. We hike and then we order a bunch of pancakes. But it seems to me you found a new workout partner, and apparently he can curl you.
Oh, my goodness.
He's not as good looking as you, Miss Ledlow.
Don't tell him that.
I love it.
Right?
I love it.
But 3D, you know this very well because you played with Shaq, right? I tell people all the time, you know, our coach said, you got to go cross screen on Shaq, get Rick Smits open like 30 times a game, right?
That's right.
As a player, you know, you just go do your job. Now that I'm out of the league and have a chance to work with him, I'm thinking to myself, what the hell was I thinking all these years from him playing in Orlando, the Lakers, all the games, the playoff games? What was I thinking? 30 times a game, you're telling me I got to go set a cross screen on that
That
superhuman. I mean, you see how I was like a rag doll in his arms, and I'm 6'7".
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Good stuff.
He's the Hall of Famer, Reggie Miller. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next on TNT.
Gentlemen, I miss you, but I really miss my partner in crime,
I feel
Kristen
the same
Ledlow.
way. I'm so
miss
glad
you.
to see you, Reggie. I am so glad.
And I know about those.
Than anybody else, they've won 10 in a row this season alone, following a loss of at least 20, and they hold the record tied with the Bucks at 13 games. Let's talk though about Luka Doncic. 3D, despite this 25-point loss, he did have 20 and 7, but he shot just 33% from the field. He was limited.
Yes, he was limited. We have to give the Warriors a lot of credit for their team defense because we know what's one thing Steve Kerr talks about. And we know one thing about Dallas Mavericks now. The Warriors defense, active hands, active bodies, communicating, shut Luka down. As much as we love Luka, we know he can attack the defense, but 7 turnovers turned to easy offense for the Warriors.
So who wins game 2 tonight? I want to know from both of you and, of course, from you all at home. You can scan the QR code on your screen and let us know what you think. What do you think?
I mean, it's real early for you to get my predictions just as quick as
I'm going to ask
she
it
put you in the
again.
fire.
In like 56 minutes, I'm going to ask it again. So you have time to change your mind.
In
there he
56
is.
minutes, I'll have my answer. I'll have my answer.
What do you think, 3D?
Well, I'm not going to lie. You know, the Splash Brothers, adding with, you know, the pool dude, the way Draymond's playing defense, the way guys have been playing at home, I like the home team so far. Early on, as we had this conversation, be with.
Why is it, Brendan, that the Warriors' home court advantage is such an advantage?
Well, their home court advantage is because their fans really rally and get behind them. And when they're hitting shots, that place is going crazy. They're really into it. And they play an exciting brand and exciting style of basketball. So they're playing fast. They're throwing lobs. They're hitting crazy step-back threes. And once they're hitting those shots, everybody in the building just starts to ride that wave. Steph's out there dancing, doing his high steps and everything. And the fans just get behind it. And that place just becomes so loud. And it's a great atmosphere.
What does it take, 3D, to shake off a blowout loss? And why is it the Mavs are so good at it?
Well, I think having a leader like Jason Kidd, he never really gets rattled. And like he mentioned in that sound, they got to make some shots. They showed us in the Utah series that they can shoot threes and kind of took people by storm. But if you don't make shots early in the ball game and be what you touched on, that crowd in Chase Center gets going. It's hard to get back into it. Then Steph makes a three, then Clay makes a three.
Oh, when he starts dancing. When Steph starts dancing, you can forget it. It's over for you.
When Steph starts doing that, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
It's over.
But I will say this, though. If you've watched these playoffs, a lot of times when you've seen teams get beat by a large margin, everybody thinks the series is over.
Good point.
Normally the team responds, whether that was the way Boston responded in their last game, and we've seen it in previous series where you see these teams get blown off the floor and you think, oh, it's the end of the world. Let's not forget, these Dallas Mavericks got blown off the floor and people thought they were left for dead and they were able to come back and win that series. So every playoff game is its own specific game, which is obvious, but people always think like if you lose by 25, like you get to bank some of those points for the next game. No, it doesn't matter. The next game, you get to come in fresh, and a lot of times the team that got beat bad comes in a little bit hungrier.
Well, tip-off in San Francisco is just after 9 on TNT. You can stay with us until it's time to turn it on. Playoff Central Live continues after the break. Just 33% from the field. He was limited.
Yes, he was limited. We have to give the Warriors a lot of credit for their team defense because we know what's one thing Steve Kerr talks about. And we know one thing about Dallas Mavericks now. They shoot a lot of threes. You know me, I love the three. They took 48 of them.